Okay guys, continuing from the last video I did, you know that I'm transforming these Power Ranger helmets into the various other helmets. Okay, now what I have here is a cast that was a little on the thin side because I was running out of resin, but it's still pretty sturdy enough to sculpt on. So what I decided to do is, for this first method, I was going to go ahead and just try to take clay and round out the original sculpt, meaning just make it really round like the other helmets. And for this one I started with the Pink Ranger. From studying the pictures, it looked like that was the roundest and the biggest helmet of them all. So I thought I'd start with that, and that way if I happen to cast this one I would end up with a much more round casting than the original one, and it would be a lot easier to work and add details to create the other helmets. So that's where I'm at right now. So I'm just kind of adding clay and kind of smoothing it as I go to see how it works. Okay, so now I'm back. I've added clay. I smoothed it a little just to kind of see how things would go. And here I'm going to show you how to sharpen a pencil, and take quite a lot of time sharpening a pencil because it was a charcoal pencil and not a regular pencil. Isn't that really interesting? So anyway, what I'm doing is I'm looking on the computer and I got some reference images, and I'm basically making a template of the eyes. The way I'm doing that is I got the total length I needed and divided it in half and folded the paper in half. That's tracing paper. And basically made one perfect design of the eye and flipped the paper over and traced the other side. That gives me two symmetrical eyes. Now I could just put them on the helmet and basically take my needle-like clay tool and trace around them. And from looking at these Power Ranger helmets, the basis of the helmet is actually on the eyes. So the easiest way I thought to go about this was to make the eyes first and build the helmet around the eyes, since the mouth is going to already be pre-made from the casting. I don't have to do that. So right now I'm making the horn that goes in the middle, which on this particular helmet is a little pterodactyl. Putting it on kind of thick, but that's so I can blend the edges as I go and carve down. Because for me with clay, I would rather pile a lot of clay on and just dig it down than to have to come back and actually add more clay and then redo the smoothing, because it just gets really redundant at some points. So alright, so yeah, we're just smoothing out the horn at this particular point. I still have clay that's left off the back side of the helmet. Going to put that on an armature shortly here, and I will add more clay to fill out the back part of the helmet. Now I really didn't video that part of filling out the back with clay. It's kind of self-explanatory. I just followed the curves of the helmet and threw clay on there. And the dimples and dents in the back of the helmet were smoothed by adding extra clay in those areas and then cutting down the high spot. Alright, here you see I got it on the armature and I have clay all the way around. I'm just kind of taking my favorite little sculpting tool there. It's just a cheap flat rake on one end, and on the other it's a round rake. And I've actually used this tool more than any other tool I have using whenever I sculpt. I use it for smoothing, and I also use it for shaping and cutting. So it works very well. So here I'll start the tedious task of cutting down the high spots. Now I'm basically eyeing the clay that looks the highest, and I'm cutting down the high spots to the low spots to try to bring it to a more smoother edge Later on I can even go further than that and then cut into the strips and cuts you see me leaving with the tool, and actually smooth those down even more. Now of course there's no way I'm going to get this completely smooth, so I'll get it as smooth as I can, and once it's molded I'll actually be able to sand and fill with Bondo and body filler and whatnot to actually make my smooth copy of this. But right now we're just starting the smoothing process. I'll swap to my bigger tool because there's bigger areas I wanted to cut at once because it's kind of playing tricks on my eye. So I'll swap to the bigger tool, and that way I can pull more clay off at one time and see a lot better what I'm doing. Just easier for me. Whatever tool works for you works for you. You just have to kind of play with them. I have like 50 different clay tools, but like I said, I only use like a very few of them. I actually have a video on how I take my time and smooth certain spots of the sculpt. You might want to check that out too if you're interested in how to smooth the clay.